What's up? It's your boy D Change coming at you with another Daily Dave. Today's podcast listening goes to that's a really weird way to phrase that. Today I listened to a podcast with Tony Hawk. None other than Tony Hawk. He was on the Jordan Harbinger show. I think that's the official name. Um, and it was super cool. It came out maybe in February, no, March 11th. Oh, that's 311 is the Japan tsunami earthquake anniversary. But yeah, I've been meaning to listen to this one because when I was young, I played the Tony Hawk games. I was not a skater at all, but I really liked. I mean, I kind of really secondhand kind of enjoyed that culture, like of like punk rock and skateboards and extreme sports in a way. I liked observing it. I was not gonna be a good participant in it in any way. But yeah, I love that game, dude. I forget like which one I had and what system it was on, unfortunately. But I remember really liking the music and just liking the whole like, hey, I'm controlling this dude on a skateboard and doing tricks and stuff. It was really interesting. It's kind of like puzzle like and whatnot. So it was really cool to kind of hear his story because like in a way, those of us who grew up with Tony Hawk, like we knew he became big and then he kind of just disappeared, right? And like you hear about him every now and then, but in a way you just kind of assume maybe he like settled down, maybe he just stopped doing what he does, or maybe he's still doing what he does, but he's not making headlines anymore or whatever. It's a different age, right? But yeah, what I found out was yes, he reached like a really big high during like the skating boom, and then things kind of like dried up. Like that industry kind of declined. Like people moved away, they grew up, they didn't want to do that stuff anymore, and rightfully so. I mean, there was a lot of there's a lot of bodily injury to be had. I think pop culture and stuff like that really influenced the direction that people went in, like post kind of punk era. And so I think he fell on some hard times. Like he wrote a book called "How Did I Get There: The Ascent of an Unlikely CEO." So that's what he was promoting at the time of getting onto this podcast. But yeah, it's really cool because they talk about these events, and at some point he had just had a kid, and he was like living off of top ramen and stuff like that. And I'm like, whoa, like that really sucks. If when you went from you go from a household brand to like I don't know how I'm gonna make ends meet. So that's really intense. But that helped formulate, the person that helped form the person he is today. And he had a lot of nuggets of wisdom in that podcast. Because I mean, even listening to him talk, he just maybe because of like the accent he has or whatever, but he just really sounds like a down to earth guy, and it's really cool to hear someone who just loved to skate, become something so big. And he recognizes like the amount of luck he had and how, no matter what, he just wanted to be able to skate. There were multiple times he felt like he should have just dropped out of the industry completely, but he would never stop skating. And so in a way, it's like, wow, I'm like really glad that he stuck with his passion for so long, because you hear about that a lot, like hustle culture, passion culture, just kind of like just do what you love and you'll never work a day of your life. But in reality, it's like, I mean, how do you get there, right? There is a roadmap for that, and I think it's a lot more uncomfortable than all of us are willing to admit. Because if I were to go off of something like, I mean, let's just talk about two big passions that I've experienced semi recently. One of them is Japanese idols. How am I going to monetize that? How do I get a job in that, right? I can see the path being something along the lines of, hey, maybe I need to be so fluent in Japanese that I can be a native level interpreter for entertainment companies, right? But like the path there seems so long and arduous, and I don't know if like in a way I almost feel like the payout just isn't worth it. And that's really unfortunate, because if anything, that exposes to me how I'm not as passionate about it as like maybe I thought I was, or it's more like this is a skill set I'm not willing to go into. So I lock myself out of a potential avenue, right? Whereas I have some other friends who I think they enjoy Japanese idols to a healthy to maybe more unhealthy degree. They're like really into it, but because of their dedication to the fandom, um, yeah, their Japanese is way better than mine, and I think they have much better employment opportunities than I ever had, right? At least on that side of the world. So that's an option. Another one might be like esports, right? Or like video games in general. If it's just esports, I mean, I can definitely see my lack of experience in like event management or um like not working for a team or not working for a league like holding me back, right? And that can be an issue. Like I should be getting into something like that, right? Or even trying to be a community manager might be an issue. If it's just video games in general, I'm not a programmer. I do marketing. I'm probably mostly in touch with like digital marketing and communications and that type of stuff, which is needed in a company. But like, I'd still be competing with a lot of other people who are very skilled at that. So it's difficult. It's really hard to. I mean, we make excuses for ourselves, right? And so for me, it's like really hard to kind of come to terms with that. I feel like there is an uncomfortable like discussion to be had because I also realize how much work needs to go into it. And in a way, I'm kind of afraid of that. So anyway, I went on a tangent. It's kind of intense, but like, that's why I still have to admire Tony Hawk, because Tony Hawk is Tony Hawk. He maintained his brand so well, in my opinion, because he even gave a story about how, you know, some major brands wanted to pay him big bucks to like promote cereal. Like they wanted to sponsor one of his events and they filmed like a special thing, but he felt like it was so fake. It was so not him. And they also wanted to print like his face on like toilet paper, or there was a different situation. But he knew that it was like from the heart that this was not the right thing to do. Like it's not what he wanted to do, you know? In a way he didn't sell out, right? Which is, you know, it's one thing or another. Like some people want that like authenticity from an artist. I feel like you'll definitely get that from a guy like Tony Hawk. In other cases, like sometimes you just gotta put food on the table. You know, you gotta put food on your family, right? So sometimes you gotta take the buyout. You know, sometimes you start a startup so you can get acquired. Sometimes you build a business so that you can exit, right? Maybe there's not necessarily anything wrong with it. It's one of the methods of making money. But I have noticed like this kind of hyper attention to this culture that I feel like is kind of, I mean, tipping scales in a certain way. I want to say it's an imbalance, but like there will be corrections at all times, right? In a way, you know, major events also accelerate and accelerate ruin, accelerate success, and that type of stuff. So there will be innovation, there will be consequences, and you got to take the good with the bad in a way, right? So yeah, I think it was a great conversation. It was really good to actually hear from Tony Hawk after like decades. Because realistically, when you play his character like in the game, or you know, when you're just playing the game, it's just like, okay, whatever, like just skateboarding, it's cool. And maybe you've seen some like commercial appearances or some of his talks, and that was pretty much it. But to hear about a little bit more about, you know, how he went from a young guy really digging this sport to like always pouring his heart and soul into it, and even when things were going poorly, like he was like, you know, I still find joy in this. I've still found a way to make a living for me and my family. Like that's, you know, mad respect, you know. And I recently just heard that like the Tony Hawk games are being like remastered for the PlayStation 4, and I'm just like, whoa, dude, like that's crazy. So that's super cool. Super happy to hear about that. Like I think it's really nice. I do take a little bit of issue with, I mean, this is with everything though. Like instead of making completely new games, we're just gonna remake everything. Okay, you know, I get it. There's less risk in it, but that's just the way things are right now until we get more corporations willing to take risks, or more artists who are willing to push beyond our current boundaries. So that was super cool. I'll leave the link in the description. I think it was a great interview, and if you have nostalgia for Tony Hawk, I think you will enjoy that episode. So this was the Daily Dave, another recap of a podcast. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did not, let me know. If you did, let me know. But especially if you did like it. But yeah, there's probably plenty more talks like this, or plenty more like podcasts that I want to talk about, but also plenty more topics that I would like to cover. So thanks for watching again, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.